You're ready to be premature all over again.
Wow, that's impressive.
Quick
bro.
reset.
Yeah.
Quick reset.
Last night was Ramos Jizz.
Freudian slip. Who knew the job was pro bono?
I was so high that I shit myself at some point.
Okay, I can still hear somebody. Everybody mute. Goddamn, you're killing me.
My SEAL Team 6 went to SEAL Team 12.
There's nothing wrong with punching above your weight.
I thought you'd get better.
Well,
I don't know what's worse. You're a ginger or you've been vaccinated.
You sit around and drink and solve the world's problems, right?
Welcome back, gentlemen and ladies and gentlemen. Glad everybody's here. It is a new week. It is a new topic. Although this topic, we're going to do something we've done before. But this is one we haven't done in 170 episodes. Hard to believe when you say it out loud. 170 episodes since we have openly focused on this particular topic. It has come up throughout, but today we're going to circle back to something we haven't done since episode 5.
I mean, it's so prevalent.
Way back in 2020, yes. So it absolutely is. It's pervasive in everything these days, good, bad, and indifferent. But that's, you'll find out in a minute. But before we do that, gentlemen, the Four Horsemen are here. How's everybody doing?
Peachy.
Good.
Watermelon.
Good.
Yeah.
Dialed in. Focused.
Dialed in.
Kiwis.
Focused. There we go. Yay. I'm happy you're here.
Kumquats.
Mac is just staring. Gotta go.
Can we get this shit going?
We already did. We've already started.
I got I had to pause Cocaine Bear to come do this shit. So
Bullshit.
I did.
Oh, sweet, sweet. All right. All right, so let's jump into it. I'm going to go first on our drinks because it's been 170 episodes. I'm not sure if anybody knows where I'm going with this one, but it was the first time this drink reared its ugly head on the show.
Ramos
Yeah,
is
Haas,
just,
You know I'm not going there because
I know you're not.
fuck that goddamn drink.
But if you know our catalog and you know the drink, then you should know the episode because this was the first time this drink appeared, and it was also the first time Haas was bit by the Boulevardier bug. It was both entertaining and interesting to watch it happen, but I decided to do a Boulevardier, so that's what I'm doing. It is actually the last of my rare breed, so it's that with Campari and vermouth, and then you just stir it up and you go to town, and voila, here we are.
Why waste a good whiskey or bourbon like that?
Thank you, Mac.
Why?
I've never loved you more, homie.
2 reasons from my boy Haas.
Wrong and wrong.
And as a callback to episode number 5, those 2 reasons. What more do I need?
A good reason.
Look, you do your margaritas. You do you. Nobody's arguing with you. That's fine.
I love it.
A little Patron with a side of Patron, and then topped with Patron.
Can I get a little bit of Patron?
But I'm doing the Boulevardier Haas. I'm doing it for you. I'm doing it for this show, and hopefully, maybe I'll get bit by the bug because that hasn't happened yet. But we'll find out. So that's what I'm drinking, the Boulevardier. All right, Mac, smart mouth. What are you drinking today?
A margarita.
Margarita.
I feel like Patron? No, it has Kirkland's signature tequila.
Of course it does.
I got a shit ton of that to finish off still.
This is what you need to do. You need to get that big ass bottle, open it up brand new, pour a cap full of tequila in that, put that away, and then just put that capful's worth of sweet and sour back in, shake it up, and just drink straight from the bottle.
You lost me.
Okay, that wasn't difficult
Moving
to do.
right along. No, really. What are you talking about?
What are you drinking? You're killing the vibe.
I fucking have to tell you twice. Do you not listen?
What's
Clean
in
the
it?
wax.
Do you not
A
understand the
margarita.
words that are coming out of my mouth?
A margarita.
One more time for the listeners with enthusiasm.
A margarita.
Go fuck yourself.
Self.
I'm assuming it's pre-made mix.
It is Jimmy Buffett Margaritaville.
Of course it is.
Left over from September of last year.
I'm sure that's delicious.
With Kirkland's signature tequila that was bought in September of last year.
Then there you go. Look at that. There's symmetry.
And it is really good.
All right. Okay. Well, then let's move forward. Thank you for that. Haas, I know.
Real quick, in case you're wondering,
Nope.
I made a margarita.
Haas, last week, I know that you did not drink because you were not feeling well.
Nope.
So I don't know
That's
if that
correct.
is still withstanding, but what potentially are you doing
Because he had the
today?
curse of the Baba Yaga.
Yeah.
Bye.
Baba
Yeah,
Yaga. heard
right.
you talking
JW
shit.
Force.
I'm having a margarita.
That's my boy.
He hates
You my boy,
margaritas.
Blue.
Yep.
Fuck. So it's probably
I-
just sweet and sour.
Yeah, I did.
there's no-
It's the Don Julio Blanco,
Okay.
Okay.
and then how you say it, Contrier,
Cointreau,
Cointreau.
Cointreau, and lime juice.
which is just orange
Nice.
liqueur.
Mhm.
So obviously your little call out for Mac, which
Mhm,
is
absolutely,
'Cause
100%.
very sweet.
That is
And we didn't even
absolutely
plan
true.
that.
Hey,
My-
well,
salute-
actually,
salute
we
to the
did talk
CMO.
about it, and we almost lined it up, and then I came across a recipe, and
Damn
I was
you.
like, "Yeah, I got to do this one."
Yeah, he does. And for you people at home, the drink that Grinch is drinking is called Blowjob from a Ghost at sundown in Salem's Lot.
No, that's not the one I made.
No,
That's-
it should be though. I don't care
that's
what
very
you're drinking.
specific.
That's
You-
definitely what
Like
you
that-
should
I-
be drinking.
Thought about
I feel like that
but
happened one night because that's a very specific drink. There,
Blowjob
Grinch.
from a ghost at sundown in Salem's
What did I
Lot.
not have? That's
all
in that?
those trips down to Florida for spring
I'm
break,
guessing pumpkin
Panama City.
liqueur.
Yeah, I mean, when I saw
yeah,
the
I think that's the
pumpkin
one big
liqueur,
one.
you know,
So you're like,
and
I'm doing
passion
this, and then
fruit
you're like,
vodka, you know, and I don't have sour mix, and I wasn't about to start making that today, so I pivoted.
Is there a day that you will make sour mix on your own?
Doubt it.
No, okay, so that was waste for you to even say. But go ahead. So what are you doing? Blowjob from a hobo.
You look at this beautiful beverage. It's
Yeah.
called sewer water.
And that's exactly what it looks like.
So you just
It
took a
is-
shit in a glass
In a
and
rib
water
for
in
her
it?
pleasure glass. Jesus.
It
It
is. Well, Haas will recognize this.
Yes, Munchen Hofbrauhaus. Yeah.
Um, so it is Dr. Pepper, orange juice, and
Okay.
vodka.
Okay.
I haven't tried it.
Tastes like fucking sewer water too, I'm sure.
I bet.
That's actually really fucking good.
I'm sorry, Dr. Pepper, orange juice, and vodka.
Mhm.
Okay.
You know, the description says it tastes like a popsicle in a glass, and they're not wrong. That's a pretty appropriate description. It's pretty good.
But that's a very broad description. What kind of popsicle? I mean, it could taste like
I
a sewer
don't
water
know.
popsicle.
Shit
Yeah, fine. If you want to freeze sewer water, that's fine.
Okay, so
Like
what
a,
are the proportions here in terms of how much Dr. Pepper and orange juice?
It's 5 ounces orange juice, 4 ounces Dr. Pepper, 2 ounces vodka.
Okay. And that's okay. I mean,
And look at that beautiful color palette.
and you don't
Mm.
shake
I
up
know.
the orange juice and the vodka. You just
You
put
just
them all
see-
in, and that's it.
I just mixed it in glass. So I was like, that's a pretty healthy, total ounce
No shit.
volume.
So
So
it's in a
You've,
mug.
Everybody
Okay.
remembers the scene from Christmas Vacation where Eddie's emptying the crapper.
yeah,
That's
Yeah.
pretty much what that
That's
looks
what it
like.
looks like. All right.
yeah. I should have put like
Glad it tastes
like
good.
a Twix or something in there.
Little baby Ruth.
There you go.
Little floater.
Have a little Snickers bar, or baby
Mhm.
Ruth.
It's
That would have been perfect.
Baby Ruth, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So to our margaritas, our boulevardier, and our blowjob from a hobo in a sewer. Cheers, gentlemen.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Moving right along then. It's been a while since I've done that. The boulevardier. Okay. Glad I made that drink. All right. So let's get to work. So again, if you know our catalog and you know episode 5 and you know the drink, then you know what we're talking about. If you don't, you're about to find out. We are talking about the pros and cons, as it were, of social media. Now, we discussed social media at length in episode 5, where Haas, of course, at that time, and maybe today, was a huge proponent and spent an hour and a half trying to convince the other 3 of us why we should be on social media, and, kind of extolled the virtues of social media and his disappointment in the fact that we weren't on social media. I think by and large, Matt, Grinch, and I have, at that time at least, we're like, nope, we've stepped away, not really our thing. And here we are 170 episodes later, and I wanted to talk about it again. And people will talk about the benefits, people will talk about the negatives, the pros, the cons. Does one outweigh the other? Is there value there? Is it worth it? So that's what we're talking about today exclusively. And again, we've touched on this. We talked about this not that long ago with the Decency Act and Section 230 that, content provider, the hosts of platforms would not be held responsible for content providers' material, and that maybe that was going to change. But here we're just going to exclusively talk about social media, the pros and cons. So, gentlemen, I'm going to start with you, Haas, because you were a huge proponent of this on episode 5. And I'd like to know, because I did make the comment recently and you said, maybe things had changed. Now, I'm curious if that's true or if you were busting my balls. Before we even get started, right out of the gate, has your perspective on social media changed in the last nearly 3 years?
Yes.
And why is that?
Because I've become older and wiser.
In your words,
I guess.
I was going to say,
Fido?
yeah.
Well, for example, I removed TikTok. I don't have TikTok anymore because of all the controversy
The
and
Chinese
some of the stuff.
government is so disappointed.
Yeah. I mean, they couldn't give two more shits probably about me individually, but still, I just didn't want to give them the satisfaction of having that information. Part of it came from a couple of the gentlemen that I know here work in tech on a very high level, and they were telling me that, I mean, in all honesty, like they don't even use like a common email subscriber like Gmail or Yahoo. They use something different. I try to get them to join WhatsApp, and like, no, we don't use that. We use this other thing because it's an open source kind of thing. So it's, for me, a lot of it is I don't want my information collected. I get tired of, I mean, look, I know we live in the matrix, so it doesn't really matter, like legit matter.
Amen.
But on a smaller level, on a more minutia level, it's like, I don't know. I just I'd rather not have my data collected that way. So I do find myself pulling back from. I removed TikTok. I removed Snapchat. I wasn't really even using it anyway. And I would say that I'm definitely a Twitter. I don't keep telling last time I was on Twitter. I might as well just remove that, especially after Musk bought it. I'm like, fuck this shit. I'm out of here. It's just, it's so cantankerous and so toxic. I think though what changed most is the platforms I do still use. The way that I use them has changed. I don't engage with people. I more or less use them for information gathering, like physical fitness stuff or video games or stuff I'm into, Formula One. Like I join I join pages or groups that of like-minded people, and as long as it's not toxic, I'll stick around for that. But yeah, I don't use it to engage with other human beings I either know or don't know, really, to have open conversations about hot button topics, because I don't find that healthy and
that's not the place to go,
enjoyable.
is it? No.
Now,
Okay.
now, you listed out a really long list of apps that you've deleted. Are you still on Farmers Only?
ChristianMingles.com.
Grinder.
J-Day?
But he's only on Grinder when he goes to Disney.
That's right.
Yes.
On Main Street. Okay, so that is your position. And again, episode 5, social media where civility goes to die. And of course, we titled it that way because our belief at the majority of the group's belief at that time was the case, is that there was no civil discourse on social media. And this is back in 2020. And I think especially now with having gone through COVID and remote work and kind of the disassociation of large groups at the time, social media became the pervasive form of contact because we weren't getting together during the outset of COVID. Now things have started to revert, but nonetheless, that was our belief. And for me, that has not changed. I don't believe there is a way for civil discourse to occur over social media. And I know people will probably argue that's not the case. Haas, I got your position. Mac, in 3 years and 170 episodes, has your position on social media changed?
No.
No.
I mean, I'm on Instagram, and that's, as Haas mentioned, right? It's simply, I'll follow some specific groups and some people just to get information, but I'm not necessarily, actively chatting with people or sharing posts or anything like that. No.
Well, you share posts with us, people getting hurt and things like that.
Well, but I mean, in terms of like my stuff, like my life or anything like that. Yeah.
And you're not looking for people to engage you either.
No, exactly. I'm just looking for information.
Okay.
From specific people sometimes.
Gotcha.
So.
And Grinch, obviously last but certainly not least, I know how you felt in 2020. Has that changed for you?
No, it hasn't. I mean, I'm not really on anything other than LinkedIn. And I would argue there's some shit that's bled over into LinkedIn that I'm like, this isn't the place for that.
Yeah,
Well,
it's not business.
I don't need, some of this bullshit that you're posting in here. That's not business related, which, or professional networking. I get really irritated. I've actually blocked like viewing people on LinkedIn because I'm just like, why is politics in this? But no, I'm really not on anything. So hasn't really changed since our
Okay.
last discussion.
And there's probably nothing on the landscape in front of you, any of you, that's going to make you rethink that position.
No.
Again, I'm the same way. Had nothing to do with it really. Then I do have Instagram. I will jump into that. And as a matter of fact, my wife and Haas, you made this point, I think almost specifically to Grinch and I, when we first had this conversation on episode 5, is like, yeah, but you guys are tied to social media because your wives are. I mean, I think you said that, like, it's easy for us to take that position of not giving a shit because our wives were still tied to it and we would get things from them or, that type of thing. That was what you said. My wife has all but abandoned social media since then.
Really?
Yes.
Because she was really into it. So that's interesting to hear.
She dumped a lot of the stuff from Facebook. It, like, Haas said, it was toxic. What
Sure.
the three of us have kind of echoed. And she was like, I can't do this anymore. And she actually closed out her Facebook page. She will be on Instagram for a few things. And interestingly enough, the other night, we were actually on TikTok live streaming we were watching live streams of the Taylor Swift concert here in Tampa, because apparently that was a huge thing. And so people were live streaming it on TikTok. And so she was like, oh, look. And she got on and we actually watched about an hour and a half of the fucking concert. I was like, well, you can't be there. I'm not paying for it. And now I get to watch it.
I love that you have finally come out of your shell and are now a Tay-Tay fan.
I told Grinch.
It warms the cockle of my heart.
I told Grinch, she performed for 3.5 hours, 44 songs. I mean, kudos to
which
her.
Is incredible.
That's fucking amazing. Yeah. And she did it 3 nights in a row here. So, I mean, yeah, I guess when you're paying, they said some of the tickets there were going for like 21 grand on resale market.
Jesus.
60,000 people.
To where some people have more money than sense.
Yeah, it always seems to be the case. But I digress. So yeah, my position on social media hasn't changed. My wife is actually like you, Haas, has adopted this. I don't need social media. The headache that exists, the negativity that exists, I don't need that shit in my life. And of course, I was researching some information in terms of pros and cons. And so I wanted to run down just a quick list of pros and cons and get y'all's opinion, because they're weighing these against each other. And I'm not sure it's a smooth one-to-one. So procon.org, Britannica's procon.org. This is what they list. Pro number 1, social media promotes community that can translate into or supplement offline relationships. Do you agree with that?
This is not a direct answer to that question, but it just so happens there's an article that literally posted Friday. It's on Investopedia, but it defines social media as a computer-based technology that facilitates the sharing of ideas, thoughts, and information through virtual networks and communities. So in terms of that pro, I mean, yeah, I think it's not an all or none. I mean, I think there can be positive aspects of like business, like we talked about, businesses advertising, events coming up. Somebody lost their dog. Hey, does anybody know whose dog this is, kind of thing, and kind of reconnecting a dog with an owner. I don't have any issue with that kind of stuff, promoting community level interactions. Just no comment section.
Right. And of course, that's the part you're never going to get away from. Right. Having no comment section. Social media promotes community that can translate into or supplement offline relationships. And as you read deeper, and I won't do that, I will kind of mention what Haas said. He gets on Facebook, I believe you said, Haas, and joins groups with similar interests. And that's one of the things this talks about, is social media allows people to have friends with similar interests in multiple cities and states and countries all over the world, as well as being able to have that same thing closer to home. So then you have, you find an interest group. Maybe Haas is like, oh, I found a bourbon lovers interest group on social media, and there's a local meetup that he can then attend. So that's what they're talking about. It spills into the offline relationship, is you then take that information and you go to a meetup and you try different bourbons and you meet these like-minded people.
Yeah, in fact, there
I,
is
I guess
there are, sorry, real quick, just to enhance on that thought is, yes, there are a couple groups that I've joined on Facebook for bourbon, and it's amazing the things that you learn from some of these people because they have a deeper knowledge base than I have. And I can tell you, based on some of the comments some of these people have made, I would not be friends with them in real life. It just so happens we have a particular subject matter that we both enjoy talking about. But aside from that, I wouldn't have anything to do with that person on another level.
Gotcha. Mac, what were you going to say?
no, I was gonna say I think in a perfect world, yes, that's true, but that's typically not what happens when you're talking about social media. Um, you don't have and that's not what a lot of people use it for. They use it for the negative aspect of it. If that's what everybody's using it for, then it's great. The world's a better place. But we know that's not the case.
Right. And that sentiment Grinch mentioned back in episode 5. And yes, for the next hour, I'm going to be responding or referring to episode 5 quite a bit. But Grinch mentioned that in episode 5 is you know people in real life personally, and then you get online and you see the things that they say, and it's almost like, huh, would I
Do
be
I really know
associated?
them?
Right. Do I know them? And then you got to go back to work and look at them and go, well, they just said some wacky shit online, and now
Well,
I've
that's
got to
why
deal with them.
never should be online media, or online social online with anybody from work or anything like that. I think that's just asking for trouble,
Right.
because of that exact reason.
And again,
Yeah.
employers these days use social media to
They
vet out
scour
their
it.
employees.
100%.
And I sat in my interview for the company I work for, and they said, you don't have a social media presence. And I said, I absolutely do not, which means obviously they went out and looked for it.
Mhm.
And of course, in the back of my mind, I'm like, huh.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Well, and they had said after I got hired, they said, we had somebody that came in and interviewed, and we did the same thing. They gave them their information for their social media outlets, and they went and looked, and they said there was some questionable things on there. But they asked me about it, and I'm like, yeah, I don't. And we do have social media at my job, and they're like, oh, are you going to join our social media channels? I'm like, no, I'll create work for them, but I'm not going to join them because I don't want you to have that access to me.
Right. It's separation of church and state.
100%. And I think part of it was because of the things Grinch had said. It's like you work with these people and you view them a certain way, and then you get online and you see the comments, and then you're like, shit, I got to go back to work with that person and not say anything or not feel awkward.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
I do. In this article, there's some information here that I think is complementary to where you are in your flow. So what are the benefits? Social media platforms allow people to access information in real time, to connect and to find niche communities. It has helped many individuals find common ground with others online, making the world seem more interconnected and within reach. I'm going to ignore this one blurb about negative because I realize we're going to pivot into that column. Still, according to the 2019 survey by Pew, people's use of social media is correlated with having more friends and more diverse personal networks, especially within emerging economies. For 80% of teenagers, social media allows them to feel more connected to peers, according to a 2022 Pew Research survey of teens ages 13 to 17. Overall, 1 in 3 said that social media has had a mostly positive effect on them, while 59% said it had neither a positive nor a negative effect.
So no effect in essence. Well,
and in the pro column too, according to Facebook, more than 200 million small businesses use their platform for marketing.
Right. So, and again, not that there's not a business benefit to social media. I'm not saying that, but even you guys just mentioned LinkedIn, a professional-based platform, is starting to veer into other areas where you guys are even like, yeah, I'm not going to be using that, or I need to be concerned about that. I need to be more vigilant because it's not just, connecting with other business professionals.
Yeah,
So,
and I think some of that too is the evolving etiquette with the platform.
right.
Because I'm thinking of a post made not long ago, and one of the first comments was a dude basically shamelessly promoting himself, and I was like, "Fuck you," and I deleted his comment. Like, I didn't post for you to try to explain how you wanted work, not
Right.
on the post itself. You want a separate message?
That's
Okay.
different.
Yeah. Can we
But
talk about that a
otherwise,
little bit later, Grinch? I don't like you deleting my post, man.
It's like, I'm sorry.
No, well, I think it's interesting because you bring up a great point. Initially, when LinkedIn came out, I don't know that I would have considered it a social media platform, right? I don't know that that was 100% the intent of it, but as you mentioned, it sure seems like it's kind of what it's becoming to some extent.
Well, I because of my job in graphic design, I actually build media for all of the outlets within our own company, and even the interface for LinkedIn looks a lot like Facebook now. Like it is, they're emulating, because obviously Facebook was the front runner, and they're starting to now emulate, even from the dimensions of posts and things of that
well,
nature. So
yeah, I mean, it's funny. I mean, there was a post I made that's, it's like, your post has made X number of impressions. You should comment and tag someone to keep the conversation going. I'm like,
I didn't want a
I don't,
conversation.
right. I don't give a fuck about trying to gin up more eyes on this.
Right.
I made the post. My network can see it. It's up to them if they want to look, comment, or otherwise.
Right. As long
I'm
as
not
they don't
trying
try
to
to
jam
promote
it. Like,
themselves.
yeah, I'm not trying to
But
ping it to the top every day,
but
Right.
I think you brought up a point, Thor, that a lot of people, it's about the likes.
Yes.
How many likes did I get today? Right.
Right.
That's what your social value has become reliant on
Right.
in this day and age with social media is, how
Well,
many people viewed my post? How many people liked it?
I don't even think we talked about the last go around on this. I don't think we did, but the the notion of influencers.
I
don't
believe
re-
we
I think
touched
we
on
may
it.
have
Did
touched
we?
on it
Did we?
because
It's
Okay.
gotten out of control.
because
One
I,
hundred percent out of fucking control.
in
I'm over
my
it.
in my personal opinion, and professional as it was, there was nothing more useless than building a career off your influence and the shit they try to utilize for influence. It's like, I mean, the people that care about that, I mean, I guess that's what you have going on in your life.
I But
Sure.
here's the thing, just like a lot of things nowadays, right? It's been around forever. You had celebrities hawking stuff
Right.
before, and now it's just, we slapped a fancy name on it and called it influencer, but it's really the same thing that's been going on. It's somebody trying to convince you that this product is good, and they're getting paid for doing so.
And sometimes getting
Yeah.
paid ridiculous amounts of money.
Yeah.
Well, and there are a lot of good reasons to do that. I mean, considering, again, per this article, more than 4.7 billion people use social media, equal to roughly 60% of the world's population.
Right. Well, I'm not one of them. So again, I don't want to get too far away from what we're talking about, because I mentioned the pro. I want to do the con on the other side. So the pro was social media promotes community that can translate into and or supplement offline relationships. The con to that was social media promotes cyberbullying that potentially spills into offline life.
Hmm.
I will.
Well,
Yeah, I
I
think
mean,
we've seen many
we know that
examples
to be
of that.
true.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I don't know about you guys, but I've had a problem in the past where I have to really check myself to not engage with these people, right? Like these people that come at you. I have to really sometimes check myself that I don't get pulled down in that rabbit hole with them, down in the gutter with their bullshit. Because I mean, people can strike a chord, and and someone coming at me being like, "Hey, you worthless piece of shit, I'll fuck you up," and I'm thinking to myself, "No, you would not." Because number one, I'd find you'd never see me coming. Number two, I promise you, as mad as I can get and frustrated as I get, you would not. But the problem I have is I know better. Like, don't engage. If you don't engage in Mrs. Haas has a wonderful saying: "It takes two people to fight." It does. If someone's fighting with you and you don't want to engage, and you don't want to fight, they can't fight.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't stop him from talking shit, though.
Yeah, but again, my whole thing is every time you engage with people like that, all it does is like fuel the fire, and it
Right.
reinvests in them, that they're getting to you, that they're getting away with it, that they're getting what they want. And I've tried really hard over the last several years just not to engage. I will scroll through some of these posts sometimes, and I will just toss my phone to the side and be like, you know what, I'm done. I'm done. I'm not
Right.
looking at this shit anymore. It's making me feel like shit. I'm getting all worked up and this, that, and the other. And Mrs. House will say something to me like, "Oh, more shitty comments in social media about XYZ topic, right?" And I went, "Yeah." And she goes, "Why do you even look anymore?" I was like,
Well,
"I don't know."
Yeah, I mean,
I
I
wish
don't
I
even
didn't.
go down the path of reading the comments usually when I'm looking at posts. It's, okay, What's the post? Is it what I need to read? Okay, good. I got that. I don't need to read everybody's opinion about the post because that's quite
Well,
frankly,
It's a
I
dark
do
black
that, and
hole.
I don't know why, because then I feel the urge to like
respond
comment to these people and be like, "Were you
Yeah.
born yesterday?
or defend
do you
somebody.
not? Can you
I-
not rub two brain cells together and create some friction? Because how could you say that? How could you
I,
think that?"
I get angry enough reading or seeing articles about somebody who made a comment. I mean, and I'll give you an example. It actually, like, I didn't obviously get on social media to do anything about it. The missus just had to hear me vent about it, like while we had dinner. Yeah, which was somebody commented that there was a riff on the new 72 Seasons Metallic album. And I guess this guy was like, my neighbor down the street can play that. Now, my comment initially was, well, tell your neighbor down the street when he's the number one band in the world and making hundreds of millions, he can run his fucking mouth anytime he wants. Otherwise, shut the fuck up, Because, like, why bother saying something that fucking stupid? But this ties into a more centered. This was the line I skipped earlier, which is, on the other hand, social media is prone to spreading disinformation, creating polarization, which we absolutely know is true, and even causing harmful psychological effects, which is what you touched on.
Right. And it's interesting because obviously the vernacular shifts with the times, like things that never existed. When we talk about cyberbullying and reading this, like, anybody know what flaming is as it relates to cyberbullying?
I was going to say, I probably do,
No,
but not in
no,
this context.
yeah. Do you know what it means? Didn't know this. This was a term related to this. Flaming, online argument with personal attacks. Do you guys know what outing is? I'm assuming you do. Right. Okay. Revealing one's sexual orientation without permission. Trolling. Yes. Doxing.
It's
Revealing.
Doxing?
Doxing.
I know Doxins.
Doxing. Doxing. Revealing private information about someone without permission. So flaming, outing, trolling, doxing, things that, have now made it into our vernacular because of things like cyberbullying. They obviously have to come up with these terms. 66% of teens believe social media companies aren't doing enough to curb cyberbullying. 33% of teens have deleted social media accounts to avoid cyberbullying. 59% of American teens have been bullied online, including offensive name calling at 42%, false rumors, 32%, unsolicited receipt of explicit images, 25%. Max, stop sending me dick pics. And then some other than a parent constantly asking where they are, who they're with, what they're doing, 21%, physical threats, 18%, and non-consensual sharing of explicit images, 7%.
Well, first and foremost, if you get something from me, it's not a dick pic. Okay, it's a ball pic.
It's
a ball pic. It's way classier, with a little tuxedo on it. Yeah, but you wonder. I mean, what kind of impact is this going to have on our kids, right? And their kids, because this is not going away.
No,
and this is clearly going to have psychological impacts on them long term, and that kind of scares me. The whole social isolationism. Sorry,
right? No, I get it.
I just, it really worries me.
I mean, it's a one-off, as far as I'm aware, but there was also the incident with Michelle Carter, who convinced her boyfriend to commit suicide.
Right.
Through like chat and messaging. I don't know if that really ties into this, but I was trying to remember her name and I had to look it up real quick.
But again, I would think that's probably the biggest issue in terms of social media. And we said this way back on episode 5. It gave every douchebag a megaphone and no checks and balances to keep them in place. And it has allowed them to say things. And Grinch, I'm getting to what you mentioned in pro and con number 2, because misinformation is a huge one. And we've seen even, people at a level where they need to be aware of the information they're espousing because they do have a lot of followers and people that will listen. They don't seem to care. They just say whatever and it doesn't matter. And social media allows them that platform without checks and balances, and that becomes a problem. So let's move to pro number 2. Social media encourages civic and political responsibility. Maybe to a point. But on the other side of that, it says social media encourages the spread of misinformation.
Yeah,
and that's 100% true.
I think it can, right? I mean, if you look at next door neighbor, I don't know if you guys are all familiar with that. I think the initial intent
was that next door. Like it's called Next Door or something, or is it
It's
actually
like next door neighbor, something like
Okay.
that. I
What
don't
is
know what
it?
the official name is. It's
Next
called
Door?
Next Door. So it's based on your community.
Right.
The original
Okay.
intent was, like Grinch said, right? Post I lost my dog. Post a picture. People in the community can see it. Oh, I saw him over here, whatever. Or hey, so and so is doing this event. But it has become, way more than that. Just like every other social media platform, and it's gotten toxic. And it's like, why can't we just get back to the original foundation of what this is supposed to be, in which case it would be useful?
I hear you say that, Mac, and yet you commented with an eggplant on my chat within Zoom, which I didn't even know you could do, by the way. Thank God for that addition.
That's right. You got to have the important parts. Look, I didn't even know what an eggplant meant for the longest time. So
sure. Yeah. Uh-huh.
That's what he's claiming.
Yeah, I've seen the movie Blockers.
Exactly. I was trying to find out because again, it's interesting, Mac, because you're mentioning things like it is Next Door, but that it is a social media platform. Because obviously we go, oh, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, the big ones, YouTube. But how many social media platforms are there? I mean, Grinch, you said it, like, oh, he's got Grinder and like even those, the Christian Mingles and whatever, like on some level,
would
those
those be
are social
considered?
media.
Would they be
They're
considered
dating
social
apps,
media?
right? But they are platforms.
Yeah, I
for
mean,
people
They're
to
social
connect.
platforms.
They're
Yeah.
part of the
Social
larger
platforms.
network, sure.
Yes.
I did that. What I put in chat is the top platforms.
Okay.
To give you a sense of the numbers, that's actually what I pasted in there. Yeah, I mean, look, we've literally, I mean, that wasn't like just a made up thing. We've literally helped a neighbor find a dog or return a dog in our area. And I think for communities of a certain size, it's probably more effective. Because sure, I mean, there's also the stories of somebody complaining about whatever, and you're like, why are you on here complaining about that?
Right.
I don't give a shit that you don't like it. This isn't how you're going to address it by telling us your opinion about something. And it could have positive effects in that sense of like, hey, does anybody notice the trash has been building up, kind of thing. And, you as a community come together and fix it or whatever, so I like anything, it's a tool. How it gets used is based on the fucking people involved.
And we know there are plenty of tools out there and they act like it.
I didn't even know what Douyin was. I had to go look that up.
Yeah.
I
750 million. It's essentially,
China?
I think it's similar to TikTok, because you actually cannot use TikTok in China. Yeah, I know, right? The irony there.
Right.
So
I think the federal government's banned. The United States federal government's banned TikTok on their
They're
phones.
talking
on any
about
government platform.
on any government
Right.
platform.
Like your
Montana
issue,
just
whatever.
blocked it.
What
They're
was
the
it?
only
Oh,
state.
I thought it was Minnesota.
It's pretty
I don't
sure
know.
it's
One of the
Montana, but
states.
maybe it was Minnesota.
One of the states, right?
I think you're going to see a
Blocking
lot of other companies start to follow suit.
Well, the
in states,
universities,
because I know we are blocking it.
yeah, the universities here in Florida have blocked it. Students on university campuses here in the state of Florida are not allowed to utilize TikTok.
How bad does it have to be when Florida blocks it?
Mac, you're correct. It was Montana.
Montana. Okay. So the 12 people in Montana can't use TikTok to talk to each other. That's a shame.
I think they'll be okay. I think they'll be more than happy.
Pretty sure they don't get any cell service anyway. So.
Right.
Look, I mean, we can make the argument that if they remove, and I've said this like within my own household, I'm like, if tomorrow somebody snapped their fingers and all social media was gone, would it move the needle in my life? Not one iota.
It would in mine. 100% would. Yep.
I think to some extent, yes.
Well, for one thing, I'd get Mrs. Haas back.
Well,
she spends quite a few hours a day.
So I'm not even sure now if you're a proponent for or against social media based on that alone.
The average user ages 16 to 64 uses social media 151 minutes a day, according to this article.
Jeez, that's ridiculous.
Well, and again, and I think I've mentioned this at some point, like my dad uses YouTube.
I was going to say YouTube. Do we consider that social media?
I was about to say, do you? Because that's the number one platform I use. I use it I like all the time.
It's a social media platform.
anything on YouTube.
I think it ranks up there as like one of the number one search engines because
Yep.
of
I think
the way it's utilized.
I think it was second, if I remember our previous discussion.
Behind Google.
Yeah, Google
yeah.
and then YouTube, I think, and then
right.
Well, another thing we touched on too, I think, in that other discussion, I don't remember what the episode was the percentage of people who get their news from social media.
Right.
40. Okay, according to Global Web Index, 46% of internet users worldwide get their news through social media platforms. That compares to 40% of users who view news on websites. Gen Z and millennials are most likely to view news on social media sites versus other generations.
Okay. And again, in terms of pro two, social media encouraging civic and political responsibility, I know that it definitely gives people access to non-traditional, as they call them, civic spaces to, to be socially conscious or politically responsible. But the other side of that, and I think this is a term, Grinch, you have used quite a bit, is the echo chamber that exists in a lot of these spaces tends to override a number of things. And that voice becomes really loud. And so that becomes a problem. So yes, if Mac, like you said, if people were using it the way it was intended when it was originally, came to be, I mean, if you were going to use it for civic and political responsibility because you wanted to get on and you wanted to promote or push a certain thing that was a positive agenda, great. But that megaphone, as it were, tends to override a lot of that shit. And so I'm not sure that the pro there gets outweighed by the negativity that occurs because of that echo chamber.
Yeah, maybe, but I think what I've been figuring out or trying to figure out and will continue to try to figure out is how I can navigate within these spaces and push all the other bullshit out of that space for me. Like that's what I'm looking for. The platform isn't giving me the best control to do that because I still use them. They're still great tools. I still enjoy them for the most part, but there's like we've talked about ad nauseum. There's so much negative and bad that the more I can control and move the negative out of my purview on these platforms, the happier I'm going to be and the more I'm going to use them.
Well, and I think I was just say, I think one of the discussions we had, which is one of the biggest things took issue with, was despite it having this like moniker, mantra it supposedly espoused of, we're going to connect communities, the algorithm was feeding you shit that pissed you off.
Right.
And because it got reactions. And that was one of the biggest things that drove me away. But I think, Haas, I was going to say something similar to what you were saying, which is the reaction is you start paring down what you can get in your feed, whether it's people, groups, and you tend to silo off. So it's almost like, hey, I really wanted to connect with everybody. And then that dude's an asshole. She's an asshole, and you just start trimming it back down.
Right.
To me, I just cut the tree down. I didn't trim the limbs. I just said, fuck it.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
A little scorched earth method for you, huh?
Yeah.
Well, that's what I was going to say, Haas. Like Pro Jam said, you're a better man because I know Grinch is this way. I'm not trimming. I don't have the time in my life to do that. So I just cut it out wholesale.
Our most
at the roots.
valuable commodity.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I don't know how you're doing it, if you are successfully doing it or not, but
so like I said, so basically it's an interaction by interaction situation. So every time I encounter a negative or a con that I don't derive value out of it, or worse, it does something to me on an emotional level that I don't care for, I look for ways to parameter that out. So if there's any mechanisms where I can block it or remove it to where I don't have to see or deal with it again, that's the first thing I do.
Yeah,
if I can't, if I then can't do that, I start weighing, do I even want to be in that space at all anymore to begin with? Because if it's something if it's feeding me this kind of stuff on a regular basis, like every day or every time I'm on, that's a problem. And so I'll just move out of the space completely. But if it's something that only happens on occasion, I then just try to discipline myself not to engage with what they're trying to get me to engage with. Because it's like Grinch was saying, it's algorithms, right? If you engage, it knows that. So it's more likely to bring that back up to you. So I think part of it is I'm trying to classically condition myself not to engage in this crap, because the more I do it, the more it's going to feed it to me.
Yeah, I think the first thing you should do if you haven't already done it, and I did this a long time ago, turn off notifications.
Yeah,
That's step
I've
one
done
for
that too.
everything.
Yeah,
I
good
don't
call.
get notified on anything. So the only way I find anything is I have to go actively looking for it.
That's a
So
great
I
call,
know
Mike.
what I'm getting into, and then I can then, funnel out the stuff that I don't want to read.
Yeah, and maybe Grinch, you should maybe that would benefit you. Turn off notifications about how awesome John Wick 4 is, and then you'll quit getting that shit in your feed.
This
Or
is not true.
send that to
It's
Haas and
just
let
not
him start
true.
getting some of that
I mean, you talk about false information. Good Lord.
misinformation.
Well, I mean, shit. Let's talk about how much disinformation there was as it related to vaccines. But um, no, I'm with you there, Mac. I mean, I have news notifications on. I don't have
Same.
any other notifications.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, some work related apps, and
I don't even.
thankfully
I
that
have my
isn't
work
active.
email on my phone, and I don't even have notifications on it.
Yeah, we use Slack
If it's
and
something,
Asana, so
if it's something important, call me.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just the reality of it, because otherwise, I'll sit there on the weekend and I'll get pinged for something stupid, and I'll look at it and go, I really didn't need to read this until Monday. So,
well,
And then
the
you're
flip
pissed
side
off.
is the
Yeah.
job I have, I can check email whenever the hell I want.
Right.
Because I don't get stuff via email. And usually if I'm going to, I know it's coming and I look for it.
And you're not going to
So-
deal with it till Monday anyway.
Yeah, I mean, that's just the nature of where I am in life and
Right.
the job.
Unless they have, like a, weekend trial test where they need somebody to come in and drink some beer and taste
That's
test it.
different.
It's different.
Yeah, of course. So there we go. Pro and con number 2. Social media encourages civic and political responsibility. Con, social media encourages the spread of misinformation. I think we all agreed there. That definitely happens. Number 3.
Well, and just real quick
Yes.
on that. I mean, the biggest thing is, again, it's people, and they're the fucking problem at the core of all this. Yes, it's exacerbated by the algorithm and the whole approach of the platform. But I mean, how many times did we see people share something and you're looking at them going, are you a fucking idiot? Do you really think that's true?
Right.
Did you do any research or check? No. You just kept spreading this story that is an absolute fabrication.
Wow.
And that's a huge problem.
Yeah, the important thing to know is that no matter how bad it is, it'll never impact an election. I think we're pretty safe to know that won't happen. Oh, wait.
Or worldwide health on a whole.
Yeah.
But
or
you're right.
stir
People
up
don't
a riot.
People don't fact check anything. They just pass it along. Or worse yet, they believe that it's true, so they pass it along. They don't bother going to say,
Right.
I mean, if we really should invade the Capitol today.
I mean, just as a quick vignette to, pile on to the whole idea of you silo, you get in your echo chamber. We know that the whole election, the big lie, is not fucking true. There isn't an ounce of evidence to support it. And everybody that just barely digs through that knows it's not true. But if they want to believe it, then they just keep spreading it like it's fact.
Because it drives
that's
their
how
narrative.
We end up with a riot at the freaking Capitol.
Right. Yeah. It drives their narrative, and that's what it's about.
John Wick 4 is great. It's just not true.
Well, but those are facts.
You want to believe it,
so
you just keep spreading it.
Buddy, it's so sad.
I agree. It is so sad that you feel this way.
That you could have
embraced. You're such an intelligent guy with such great taste. I used to think impeccable taste, but now
you're like, does he?
Even IMDb is a social media platform.
It is.
Go check that number again, because the internet doesn't lie.
You're right. Never.
Bonjour. Exactly. Let's roll to number 3. Social media bolsters inclusivity and diversity on and offline. Does it? They're saying that's a pro.
I think it can.
Again, so some of the groups that I'm in, there's people from all walks of life, commenting on various things. Like, I mean, I'll be honest. So I'm on like fitness groups, and I'm on video game groups, and I'm on, of course. And I'm on bourbon groups and stuff. And I find that it's a very diverse group of people. And I would say the fitness group stuff that I'm in, different groups I'm on like 4 or 5 of those. Everyone is super nice and super encouraging to each other. And anytime anyone posts anything, for the most part, I mean, there's outliers. But I would say 90 to 95% of the stuff I see is people posting stuff and they're getting encouragement and positive feedback. And it's very rarely do you find someone out there trolling. And I would say most of the groups I'm on, the admins are really good. If there's a problem, they get somebody out of the gene pool as fast as they can.
Well,
Which is
that's
nice.
what I was just about to say. I mean, it's on social media, but it's more the culture that group has developed and then how they protect
Right.
it. That, I mean, to me, that's who gets the credit. I got it without the platform, they couldn't exist, you know? So I acknowledge that. It's just, it's, again, I keep coming back. It's the people that have aggregated or, you know, come together and coalesce there. And thankfully, it sounds like it's a great community. It's just supportive, and
I found some
applaud
really
them
good
for
ones.
booting the turds.
I will say I've been in some that weren't, and I just exited stage left because I was just like, nope, I'm good. But I think it's that. I think it's like anything. Like you have to weed through crap to find the good stuff. You just do in a lot
Why?
of facets, right?
I don't wanna.
Bro, that's your right though.
I
I'm not
don't
mad
wanna
at
do
you.
that.
I'm not mad at you, homie. Then don't.
Okay.
You're good. I'm not
But
mad
you
at
may
you.
again,
miss out. But you may miss out on some stuff
But yeah,
because
but
you
if,
don't want to do that.
if I look, let's go back 30 years, all right? Let's just, take that time machine and let's go back. And we're all in high school. We didn't have social media. But it didn't limit our life in any way. We were still social butterflies. We still went
But
out
it
and
didn't
did things.
enhance our life either, right? I mean,
Exactly.
there are ways that you can improve your life by using social media
Absolutely.
if it's used properly.
Okay, how
Absolutely
has
agree.
social media improved your life?
Is the pager the first
you
social media?
was that?
Is the pager
pager?
the original social media?
I honestly,
Let me
Matt,
hook it with my weed guy.
if
Yeah.
you look at your life 30 years ago, and again, you're going to make the correlation. Obviously, things are different now, but
yeah, my point being that you can get access to other people that maybe share similar interests that you maybe didn't,
They have a knowledge base.
if
that you
I
didn't
lived in rural Georgia, there was a very particular set of people that probably lived in that city that had the same mindset that maybe wasn't
think about
my mindset.
to
But
Matt's
now
point,
you have the ability to reach those people in other areas that may share similar interests as you.
and you don't. You don't
daughter
now.
Haas.
What do you mean I don't?
You just
had-
said you don't have social media, which means you're not connecting and reaching those people
I
now.
didn't say I don't have social media.
You said you have Instagram.
I made
That's
a
the only thing you
margarita.
said.
It's like you don't listen to me.
I'll go back. I'll rewind the tape, and I will put it in right here. I'll snippet what you said, and I'll drop it in right here. You said I do not have social media except for Instagram, and I don't put my information.
But what you said is I said I don't have social media, which is not true because I do have Instagram.
Okay, but you don't connect with people on Instagram. You also said that is not what you do. You are not there to. You simply
I connect
look
with
for
people
information.
of groups. Yeah, like I'm not connecting like Haas does, right? But I go out and find other people that have similar interests.
Fuck
and
you,
I
laughing
read
at Grinch. I can see that smirk behind your hand.
because he just loves seeing you be wrong.
Dance it never lacks in entertainment.
never gets old.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. That's what we're here for.
My point is,
I said what I said, and I'll say it again.
Is that where we're at?
I know what I said because I said it.
I'm saying by and large, if tomorrow somebody snapped their fingers and social media was gone, I don't. You'd still have access to the internet. You'd still be able to Google, Haas would be able to Google, workouts and things like that if he was wanting, dietary
but here's the
information.
difference.
But would the same information be there though?
And that's exactly right. I can tell you my personal experiences. I've joined some of these groups and I've gained knowledge that I probably would not have gained otherwise. Yeah. Or if I had, I wouldn't have gotten it until much, much later.
Yeah, but my point is if you jump into a social group and Johnny, what's his nuts is like, hey, here's the best diet. You better go out and check that because how do you know what Johnny what's well, so my point is you're still going to go out to the internet and you're still going to look for that information. You're not going to take Johnny what's his nuts at face value.
Maybe not. Maybe I've never heard of that whatever freaking diet is.
Yeah,
right? but here's the other
chugging
thing.
beer diet.
Just because Johnny What's
he's all in on
says something, just because what Johnny What's his nut says something doesn't mean I'm going to believe it, right? I need it to come from a credible source, and I need to see it in 3 or 4 different credible source locations, right? For me to start having interest in believing something is as great as someone saying something is, right? Like I don't go off of one rando person and their information. But these communities do bring knowledge experts together, and they disseminate information that you might not otherwise have access to, or may have had to pay to get, or may have not gotten at all.
I want to go back to the original
Grinch. Go ahead.
The original point, which was it encourages diversity. I know we kind of leapt over to the what would our life be like in high school.
Inclusivity and diversity. You're right.
Yes.
Yeah. I again say the platform, if just left there by itself, wouldn't work against or promote necessarily. If it's just a neutral platform, you're just on it. I don't even care what if it's Facebook or whatever. I think where it might, if you're a racist, you're a racist. The internet's not going to change you necessarily by itself. It's who you choose to interact with and how you approach it, and if you're open-minded. But I do think the internet exposes you to a vast amount of information you would have otherwise never come across, like videos from around the world, and you see how other cultures are. So I do think it increases awareness. And then from awareness, you can choose if it increases your inclusivity or approach to another culture or whatever. So I think absent these platforms, you would not have them. Just kind of seeing how the average person is around the world. And I mean, even funny videos, like
to expand upon that. There's a young lady, American lady I follow on Instagram who's from the US, who her and her Austrian husband try really good restaurants around Vienna. And I follow her because I've tried a couple of those restaurants and like those foods. And so I'm like, okay, here's somebody who clearly has the same taste in cuisine that I do. So I follow her, and that's what she does. And I would say 90% of the time I try these places, I also like those places. I wouldn't have known those places. And quite frankly, I'm not sure I would have spent my money testing them out.
Unless you had
I'm
known
letting her do the field research, and then I'm, coming in on her coattails to enjoy these places. So that's one example that I find is useful.
But so you're saying if there was a new restaurant in town, you wouldn't necessarily try it out on your own without some information previously?
I mean, yeah, of course. Yeah, I'm not just going to throw down, 100 euros.
Isn't that like the risk? Isn't that part of it though? Like the experience, the risk. Hey, is it going to be good? Is it not? Like you don't enjoy that,
bro? Not when it comes to food.
This ain't Friday night, bro. I'm saying
no. That's why, because Friday nights are left on Friday nights, homie.
Here's where I come back again to the core of it, which is it's knowledge, and this is why maybe getting back to the whole being in high school had we had it, there'd be differences, but I don't think the four of us would have been different. You just would know more. Now, yeah, it might lead to some things that you wouldn't have ordinarily done or whatever, because you just didn't know anybody else was into camping or this or rock climbing or whatever the fuck. But this is, it's a similar, it's got a similar touchstone to when we talked about like religion. It isn't offering anything outright that I'm looking for in terms of how, which is why for me, I lean towards a YouTube of I'll tell it what I'm looking for. And occasionally it'll get it right. It'll be like, hey, you were kind of into this. You want to check that out? I'm like, yeah. And then occasionally I'm like, what the fuck is this? Like, why is this even here? I'm like, you missed, algorithm got that wrong. So that's why I don't think we would be very different.
Well, that particular pro talks about inclusivity and diversity. And if you look up inclusive, not excluding any parties or groups involved in something. So let's say, Grinch, you talked about somebody being racist, right? A racist person or a bigot can dislike, if say they're white and they're a bigot and they dislike African Americans, but they can both love bourbon. But that doesn't mean they'll coalesce in a group necessarily just because they have the same interest.
But they
have diverse backgrounds.
But they may coalesce in the group because that piece, like Haas said, right? That piece doesn't come out. We're in a group just simply talking about bourbon.
Right.
Not, how, X bourbon, is racist, right? We're just talking about bourbon in general. So you may not know that person's. So I think the point is the social media platform in and of itself is very inclusive. I think it's when you start getting into the groups that are created on that platform where you can start going down a very, very bad path of, having hate.
You can
group or that group.
If the group's not run appropriately, you can. But I have found that most of the groups now, to join them, there's a questionnaire. and they say,
Right.
these are our rules.
Right.
You need to agree to these rules. If you don't agree to these rules, you can't come in. If you do agree to these rules and then you break those rules, you're out.
And the administrator generally reviews your answers. They don't just let you in carte blanche.
Exactly.
Well,
and so I think that's made a nice,
right?
safe, inclusive space. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it's like we joke about with why are all these things on the back of medicines? Because somebody fucking tried, right?
Right. Exactly.
They dealt with just
One
like come one,
jackass.
come all, and it bit them in the ass. And they said, so how do we start on the front end, trimming the fat instead of letting them get in, and then we find out they're an asshole
because you have trolls that okay, I know I want to go join this because my entire purpose is to start shit.
Right. So then that was the pro. Here's the con that goes with that. And Mac, this probably speaks to you because I know you've mentioned this a number of times. Social media increases privacy risk across the internet. And you've said, I'm very careful about, what I allow my apps to know and not know, what I click on or, things like that, because obviously that's a huge one, is that there is a privacy risk for social media across the board. From phishing, data mining, malware, botnet attacks, things like that. TikTok, we're talking, it got mentioned, China, they're mining data through TikTok. I don't have TikTok. I never have. Haas, you said at one point, like, I burned hours in bed scrolling through TikTok.
Yeah, I had a
I've
problem.
never
you
done
can
that.
do it. You
for
can
a
do
hot
it
minute.
quickly.
Yeah, for a hot minute, I'd lay down at 10, 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, and I'd open TikTok, and next thing I knew, it was 2 a.m.
But we were testing
fuck
it at
did that
work to block it. And I was working with one of my coworkers, and I installed it just so we could test to block it and set up the account and everything. 2 hours later, he pings me and says, "Are you ready to test blocking that now?" I said, "Oh, I got sidetracked."
Sorry.
But 2 hours just scrolling through shit. Like, how did that happen? That's 2 hours of my life I'll never get back, but it was fun.
Well, I mean, look, it's effective because it caters to, I want fairly quick, I want to be entertained, oh shit.
I want to see a guy get hit in the nuts. Yeah, I mean,
and then you want to see all of the
videos
videos of people getting hit in the nuts, and it's like next thing you know, 3-4 hours has gone by, and it's nice and it can be very relaxing. The problem is that I don't know about you, staying up till 2 a.m. is just not my jam anymore. I can't do that when I have to be up and be productive the next day. That is not conducive for that.
And literally, I think since TikTok came out, I've watched it one time. That was the other night watching the Taylor Swift live stream. I've never downloaded it. I don't have access to it. I choose not to have access to it.
And now China has all your information.
Not mine. It was on my wife's phone.
Oh, okay. Well, we're good then.
Yeah, we're good.
They just have most of it.
Yeah. So, and again, these were the 3 pros and cons that they're weighing against, the things that they're talking about, because obviously privacy is a huge thing for people. 49% of Americans actually feel confident that social media companies can protect their private information.
They're idiots.
What a crock of shit that is.
They're
either idiots or they know better and just don't care anyway.
74% indicated that control over shared private information is extremely important. 9% felt they had a lot of control over their information.
Do they though?
Yeah, and again, we are in an ever increasing sphere where anything you put on the internet doesn't go away anymore. It's out there in the ether permanently. And amazingly enough, someone somewhere can dig that shit up if they ever want to. And I've read stories, I can't remember who it was, but it was some kid, they were talking about recruiting him for football, and it was something he posted like as a fucking 8th grader.
Well, that's
on
the whole
social media.
That's the whole point of cancel culture anymore. It's like
cancer culture.
Cancer, yeah, that's a bad thing too. Cancel culture.
Yes.
They're pulling shit out from, 30 years ago that people said. And it's like, well, 30 years ago, that wasn't necessarily as offensive.
Right.
Not just that. People evolve. You hope.
Yeah. You hope.
I mean, I don't have this. Yeah. We're hoping, buddy. One of these days, my balls will drop.
If it hasn't happened yet, bro, it's
God fucking willing. Happening. Why do you think I do on Friday nights what I do? I'm trying to.
We'll live stream that on TikTok.
It's like a New Year's Eve party, ball dropping. I like it.
Genau richtig. Yeah.
I have a question, because at least 3 of the 4 of us do this. Is gaming a social platform?
Absolutely, it's social for sure. If you're playing anything with other people,
I think it can be, because if you're meeting people and playing with people you don't know,
Right.
then I think it may becomes maybe it can become a social platform. If you're just calling Hoss and Grinch and saying, hey, let's hop on and chat while we're playing a game together, then it's social, but I don't know that it's a social media platform.
But again, the
Well-
cross-gen functionality of game consoles now, and with PC gaming being accessible, you can game with PC players. There is a social aspect to it. There are live comms within the game where you can openly talk.
And again, though, it's how you're
Discord.
using it.
Discord is definitely a social platform.
And gaming consoles have integrated
Twitch.
Discord into their platform now.
Well, I mean, even like when you watch a YouTube streamer or a Twitch streamer, I mean, there's a comment section where people engage with one another.
Right.
So absolutely.
And I can't tell you how many times Grinch and I have been gaming together, and suddenly we joined up with a team. Right. So I think that people from who the fuck knows where they're playing, we're playing. So I think nowadays the idea of what is a social platform is now getting blurred, because they're giving you access to make things a social platform. Like you said, Haas,
Right.
Integrating Discord into Xbox and PlayStation now makes that a viable option.
You can form groups on Discord, just like we found out, or we know that, but oh, by the way, this fuckhead that leaked the documents leaked it on Discord.
Right. And so I thought it was interesting. I was trying to think and going, okay, well, what would be non-traditional kind of social media platforms? And I definitely think gaming is shifting that way. The cross-gen playability and the ability to talk through like a Discord app definitely makes gaming a more social platform.
Well, and it's it's the focus of how you might come together. And we use the example of, like, there's something really tough to figure out in a game, so you go Google or go YouTube a walkthrough, and then you can look in the comments and see where somebody's like, actually, I found if you do this, it's even easier, and now it's kind of a community looking to overcome a problem, all related to that particular game.
Right.
I will say this: I may walk right by that person later today and have no fucking idea. I don't look at the names because who knows, like, maybe if I find the same comment from a person over and over, I might be like, this cat's pretty cool dude.
Grinch is just hoping he gets annihilated by like Tim the Tap Man in a game one time.
Oh God, I wish. Oh.
And you do have stream snipers that will follow these guys around in the hope that they can get in a game, a lobby with them, and that they might come across them. And I mean, I don't know if that's a positive to social media. I would say no. The gamers definitely don't think it is.
Buy me a car.
Yeah, exactly. Tim the Tap is fucking and the kid, he seems like he's like 10. I mean, I don't know how old the kid is, but it's like, Jesus Christ, man, get a life. What else would you guys say is a social media platform that may not be looked at as a social media platform?
Pornhub.
Look, I didn't want to be the first guy to say it, so I thank you, Grinch.
Oh man, they get some great comments in there.
Oh my God.
Yes,
Grinch is in the squirting. He's in the squirting group.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he is.
Squirting support group.
Yes.
Yes. Not a talent.
Squirters Anonymous.
It's not a talent.
Is like what we do with texting in this group. Is that a social platform? Or Mac, are you going to say no?
It's a closed group and nobody else can join.
Yeah, I think I think it's still social, but I don't know that it's necessarily a social media platform, because again, it's not open to the public.
And that's what you're saying. That's the criteria. It has to be open to the public.
Well, I mean, it's not the only criteria, but it's one of them that I would say definitely kind of influences it.
So now you're an influencer.
Yes.
Of 3 others.
Yeah, right.
Absolutely. Hey man, that's enough. I'm good.
If I just get one of you, I'm good.
You got one. You got one, buddy.
I think there are probably hundreds of social platforms, things that we're not even aware of, things that exist, things that allow people to do and say dumb shit, negative shit, positive stuff as well.
Podcasts.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think interestingly, there's a lot of things that are moving towards where there's more interaction. I mean, it's just the evolution. Because if you're on Spotify and you see a band and there is a way to like comment or that kind of thing, then you feel like you're commenting with like-minded people. But again, I'm not walking that into other platforms, and I kind of pray that doesn't happen because
No, but when you're
I don't
talking
want
about
this shit all overlapping. I kind of like where I go.
but the social aspect, there's Mac or sorry, Grinch, I think you would agree. I can watch Taylor Swift live stream a concert, but there's a difference between that and actually being in the room, being in the stadium, in a seat, or standing there.
But
there is a difference to the.
For
What?
you, there isn't, because you're going to be sitting there staring at your video screen, recording the whole thing anyway. So, I mean,
what does that have to do with anything?
I'm just saying there probably really isn't a difference then.
There is an atmosphere that exists within that stadium that you're never going to get sitting on your
But
couch.
you're
I'm
not
sorry.
paying attention to it. You're looking at your little 8-inch screen.
Grinch will make the argument watching John Wick 4 in a theater is going to be different than watching it on your couch. There's just going to be something about it.
Well, yeah, if you watch in the theater, your dumbass paid money and that you can't have back.
You enjoy it the best anyway. There are 6 types of social media according to this article: social networking, bookmarking,
what?
Social news, media sharing, microblogging, and online forum sites.
So
What
Reddit would be like an online forum.
Yeah, I think Reddit would be like an online.
Okay.
The topic pops up and people just, pile onto it. And so what is it? You're crowdsourcing the material in essence.
Right. What were the other 5?
Bookmarking. I don't even know what to make of that one. Social news, media sharing, microblogging, and online forum sites.
Media sharing, I imagine, is like an Instagram. People are posting pictures and videos, reels, things like that. Like that to me would be a sharing media.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's any number of smaller collaborative spaces, where people come together and work. I mean, I'm trying to remember the name of that one when we were talking about Section 230, where they code, they kind of crowdsource coding and they work through things together.
GitHub,
open, like an open architecture.
Yeah. So does it not give you the definition for bookmarking?
It doesn't. There's nothing to click on. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Social bookmarking is the process of tagging a website page with a browser-based tool so that you can easily visit it again later.
Oh, so it's like bookmarking in your fucking browser.
How is that? I was actually hoping that wasn't the answer.
I was going to say that. How is that a social media?
It's not. That's not.
Instead of saving social media posts to your browser bookmarks, you can use different platforms' features to bookmark posts.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay, sure. Get off
I
my
don't see.
lawn.
Yeah, I don't see how
that eye rolls across around the room.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, at the end of the day, a little disappointed. I was hoping Haas's view hadn't changed, but I can't say that I'm not a little happy that it has. You're coming around. I appreciate that.
So this article says, bottom line, social media has reshaped their lives, capturing more than 4.7 billion users worldwide and counting. Whether or not each platform resonates with you personally, it offers a gateway for people and brands to connect across different interests and communities. From a business marketing perspective, it provides a vital way to promote a vast audience, target customers, and incentivize them to ultimately make a purchase.
Yeah, because nobody's going to tout the negativity when they're selling you something. Nobody's going to say,
well, but that's
this
the
car's
key.
A piece of shit, buy it.
And that's why you have to go to, so like, I've been watching, I'm getting into the outdoor cooking type stuff. So looking at some different grills and stuff, but so I'm watching different people talk about what they've bought. And so some of them are actually very upfront. They're like, look, I got this for free, but I'm going to give you my honest opinion. And of course you have to take them at face value, but it's okay. So now I'm going to go look at like 6 other different people and see their reviews and kind of then gather all that information together and make my decision. I'm not going to just say, well, Thor said this was the way to go through TSA, so I'm just going to go through barefoot. I'm going to go gather all my information and realize that, probably shouldn't walk through TSA barefoot because, it's fucking disgusting.
You're wrong.
I'm not, though.
You are.
3 out of 4 horsemen would agree with me.
Yeah. Yeah, you
Facts.
probably
I can't help that
spread
you're
COVID
all wrong.
personally.
Can't help it. Look, I'm not planning to go back to social media. I don't know, Mac and Grinch, if you're ever planning to pivot back there and go, oh, I'll give it a try. I know I'm not.
No more than I do today. Not,
Right.
Like I said, I'm not out there trying to follow other people or anything like that.
No, and you know, Haas, I think you will continue kind of the trend that you've got. You'll trim the fat where needed. You'll try to self-manage the situation and go, okay, if it's toxic, I will try to mitigate the toxicity, and if I can, I'll move away completely.
I hope so. I hope that's the path. I hope I continue to evolve when it comes to this, because I do find it is a time suck if you're not careful. And if it's going to be a time suck, there needs to be good reasons for that. Like I need to know that I'm, getting something out of it in the long run.
Which is what?
Well, hopefully, information to make me a better version of myself tomorrow than I was today. That's the big one.
I think you're wasting your time. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I mean, we keep trying to make you a better person by feeding you John Wick 4
4,
links, and
right?
it hasn't worked.
It's not
So
working.
It's because there's nothing that movie can give to me to make me better. It only takes it. It's a suck. There's no add value to it.
just join
Other
the John
than
Wick 4
honestly,
support
other
group
than
on Instagram.
using it as a measuring stick of what not to do in the future when you make action movies.
Well, look, gentlemen, again, want to be respectful of your time. I do appreciate you guys jumping in and talking about this. It was something that kind of reviewing episode 5 and where we've come. Because again, when you say it out loud, 170 episodes, that's a lot of episodes between then and now that we have managed to put out.
The world has changed.
It has 100%. Some for the better, some not so much.
Agreed, sadly.
But for me, social media has not gotten any better. Again, if it disappeared tomorrow, wouldn't change my life one bit. I would still function as a human being. I would still be perfectly fine. If I need information, I can go out and get it. I am capable, intelligent enough to be able to find the information I need. Yeah, you can make that face all you want, brother.
No,
The only reason it calls into question is that we're still friends after 30 years. So I get it. But I'm here.
That's a fair argument. It's hard to argue
and it's like you've
yeah.
said multiple times, Mac, at this point, it's on me.
It's on you.
Right. I knew better. And if I stuck around, that's on me. Haas, kudos to you. And if you, like I said, you're a better man. And if you can manage that situation and get what you need out of it and avoid the toxicity, more power to you. I couldn't find a way to do it. Grinch clearly couldn't find a way to do it. So we pulled the tree out at the roots and kept on moving. Yep. So if we have no final thoughts, gentlemen, then we'll leave it there. Social media, civility still doesn't exist in your world, in my opinion. So it is what it is. All right. So there we go. Ladies and gentlemen, the Four Horsemen, we're done. Another episode in the bank. If you'd like to check us out, feel free. Very shortly here, I want to make everybody aware of this. Very shortly, much like social media, we are abandoning our website. It's a full-time job just trying to keep that thing up and running and doing all the things we need. But you know what? We're not stopping what we're doing. We're going to keep coming here week in and week out. We're going to do what we do what we love, do what we enjoy. We're going to talk about the things that, we feel need to be discussed. But our website, unfortunately, is going to go bye-bye. So you will very shortly be saying bye to A Spirited Debate. But if you have a question about any drink, feel free to drop us a line at thefullhorsemen@aspiriteddebate.com. We will be more than happy to drink anything you'd like us to try within reason, except for a blowjob by a hobo in a sewer. I'm not drinking that. Grinch, you're a man among men, because I think the glass was almost empty the last time I saw it. And you managed to pull it. Yeah, look at that. Okay. My Boulevardier. Holy shit. Yeah. I do like the rare breed, but I'm
not like that.
Maybe not like that. But yeah, drop us a line at the Four Horsemen at aspiriteddebate.com. Drink you'd like us to try, a topic you'd like us to debate. But we will continue to be here week in and week out. We will be doing this. We enjoy it. There will always be something to talk about, good, bad, or indifferent. And, you can always be confident that we will find a way to discuss it, even if we probably shouldn't. But gentlemen, thank you so much for being here. I do appreciate it. I love you guys. I love doing this week in and week out, and I can't wait to do this again next week.
Thank you, fellas.
Yep.
You're welcome for my service.
The views, information, or opinions expressed during the A Spirited Debate podcast series or any affiliated podcast are solely those of the hosts or guests involved and do not represent those of people, institutions, or organizations that the host or guests may or may not be associated with in a professional or personal capacity, unless explicitly stated. While guests are invited to listen, listeners acknowledge that they are not being provided professional advice from the podcast or its guests. The content within the parameters of A Spirited Debate podcast series or any affiliated podcast are for entertainment and educational purposes only. Any views or opinions are not intended to malign any religion, ethnic group, club, organization, company, or individual.